Hello and welcome to the OTB channel. Today I'm going to take a look at a distro that I've never heard of before today called DarkOs. It's an Arch-based distro which is quite minimal, and from what I've read it seems to be a base that sets up a basic system with window managers for you and serves as a jumping off point for customization. I've not seen any reviews of this distro. I have no idea what to expect, so I'm going to take you on the journey with me. See you after the intro. Right, welcome back. So, it's a little bit of a worry this, because at the point when I'm recording this, I haven't actually looked at this thing yet. I've downloaded it, I've got the ISO, but that's all. So I don't know what to expect. This may be a positive review, it may not be a positive review. So at the moment, it's all unknowns. But I fancy doing something different. And I've been thinking all week about what I'm actually going to look at today. And this morning I thought, well, you know, let's not think too hard about this. Go on to Distro Watch, have a look at what distros are waiting to go on to Distro Watch, you know, still in the to be tested or evaluated category. Pick one and give it a spin. So I did that. There were a few distros there that I've already heard of, but this is one I haven't. It was called DarkOs. Apparently, it's an Arch-based distro. It's had a recent release back in April of this year, so, you know, it's not an old thing. And from what I can see, it offers a number of editions, but the edition that has most parts to it, if you like, consists of window managers rather than desktop environments. And it consists of Xmonad, Herbsluftwm WM, and the Awesome window manager. So, I like window managers. I like Arch Linux. What could go wrong? Who knows? Let's go and have a look at the website. Right, so you should see the DarkOs webpage in front of you. In fact, it's just the SourceForge page. If you scroll down to the bottom, it does say there's a link to the DarkOs webpage. But if you open that, well, that's it. It's just a list of the different versions that they do, plus a download link that takes you back to this page. So there's not much there, really. So what does it tell us? Well, it's based on Arch Linux. Okay, good. It's designed to create a more enjoyable user experience and easy to use. I'm assuming from the way that's been worded, we haven't got a native English speaker here. I've only got the name here, Y. Benel. I don't know if we can go anywhere to have a look there. Casablanca in the United States. Okay, fine. That's all it really tells us. Projects, DarkOs. Again, it just links us back to the SourceForge page. So we get nowhere really. But anyway, coming back to the distro itself, it comes in 3 editions. One Hell, strange name, Supertrack, and Schmegging. Each edition has its own desktop or window manager and package list. Well, I'm immediately thinking here, they haven't mentioned a window manager, a desktop environment yet. And so each edition has its own desktop / window manager. Well, which one is it? I can't see it on the list here. One Hell comes with Xmonad, Herbsluftwm WM and Awesome, apparently, and a minimal amount of packages. Okay, that's the one I'm going to download. Supertrack comes with no desktop or window manager. It uses XFCE as a delivery environment to provide you with the installer, but that's going to be removed once it's finished. It's got no essential packages in, no browser, text editor, terminal, etc. So you'll get to choose what you want while installing. Right, okay, so I'm assuming it's going to use some sort of graphical installer, and you'll be able to choose some options from there. And last but not least, we have Xmeding, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. No desktop or window manager, only a TTY shell, and you're going to have to do the installation manually on your own, but it provides an optional Ncurses installer if you're too lazy to do the work. I'm a little bit confused there, because if you're just going to install from a TTY shell, why do you need this? You just download a normal Arch ISO. So presumably the Ncurses installer is going to be similar to that Arch install script that we saw. But that's all we're told. We are told that DarkOs has some new changes coming up, so stay tuned. Okay, so if this is good, it's good to see that, this is being worked on. And what are its main features? Minimal and easy. Customize what you want. Easy install in the Xmeding edition with the Ncurses installer. Gives you full control. Blah, 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 blah. Choose what's perfect for you. So pretty generic stuff, really. Project samples. What have we got in the pictures? Okay, window managers, obviously. And that looks to me like it's going to be the Ncurses installer. It is Xmeding installer. Okay, which is obviously another customized way of doing it. I want to see what's out of the box, though, so I'm going to go for this one hell edition with Xmonad, Herbsluftwm and Awesome. Let's just have a quick click around the reviews. It appears to only have one review. I don't actually know what that says, so I'm going to just do a Google Translate. I'm going to enter my text here. Can't install a new version, does not connect to the internet to download the packages. Please correct. Okay, so that's not that encouraging. So that so far is the only review. What about support? Come on, SourceForge, please move. I find SourceForge so slow. It's slow even getting to the next tab. Unfortunately, this project hasn't indicated the best way to get help. Check out the other support issues below. Okay, project trackers. And we'll wait for SourceForge to move on. And there's nothing there, just a link that talks about source availability. So we've seen issues. Okay, there's nothing. Let's just go to files then. I'm always a little bit worried. These flipping adverts on SourceForge irritate the heck out of me. I'm always a little bit worried when there's no documentation at all. No sort of write-up about what the distro's all about, how you would install it. At the moment, we don't know anything. I know that potentially I have a distro that has Herbsluft, Xmonad, and Awesome on it, but I don't know whether it's a graphical installer, whether it's a command line installer. I don't know what I'm going to expect. All I know is there's the files, there's one hell, and if I expand that, I can see that we do have an ISO there of 2 gigs. Seems to have been downloaded 25 times so far. And that's about it, guys. We know nothing about this distro. So, yeah, what can I say? There's nothing there to give me a clue what we're looking at. We have a couple of images. This sort of feels to me like this is somebody's own project, that they have put it together for themselves, and they've stuffed it up here on SourceForge. So I've no idea at the moment what the US, unique selling point is. I can only guess that it's got some easy way of doing the installation, and it's quite minimal in the fact that it gives you a base, a foundation, if you like, for then adding your own customizations on board. I am assuming here, and it is an assumption, that the Xmonad, the Awesome, and the Herbsluftwm WM will at least have some sort of configuration files and will have been started off for you. Because if it's just a blank canvas, my first question would be, well, what would be the point of this? You would simply install Arch as normal or use one of the other easy Arch installers and add your own configuration. So I'm starting to think, okay, not sure what's special about this. I think it's a one-person distro, probably created for themselves, but let's see what it has to offer. We're not going to know until we boot it, so let's go and have a look. So here we are. Didn't really know what to expect when I booted this because there is so little information here. But as you can see, this is the screen that you are eventually presented with as the system boots. It wasn't initially in full HD mode, so I had to use the terminal, which you can see is embedded at the bottom, to use an R command, -S 1920 by 1080. And you're now seeing it in full screen mode. It's obviously a window manager here. I'm not sure what the window manager is, but it seems to have, I think it's Calamaris. Has launched automatically. And as soon as it started, it asked me to set my language, and I couldn't do anything else until I'd done that. So first impressions, it looks a bit amateurish, if I'm honest, but, I'm going to suspend any judgment and we'll just work our way through it. So, next. Right, and we go straight to a list of packages. So this is, do it yourself, and I'm going to choose Linux LTS. Okay, desktop environment. Now, strangely enough, I think this comes automatically with Xmonad, Herbsluftwm WM, and the Awesome window manager. So I wasn't really expecting to see an option here to choose desktop environments, but you know something? As I've got the option, I'm going to choose them anyway. I'm going to put a Mate desktop on there, just in case we have problems. Right, in terms of window managers, what do we want? I'm actually quite surprised that this is meant to be fully configured already. So I'm going to just click Awesome, Herbsluftwm WM, and Xmonad, and of course Xmonad Contrib and Haskell dbus. Not sure if I need to use that, but let's click everything Xmonad and see what happens. Terminal, well, I'm going to choose Alacrity, and I think it's probably a good idea to put Xterm on there as well, just in case. And let's see what else I might need. Browser. Let's just pick Firefox for now. I'm trying to keep this as minimal as possible, and we're going to see what we end up with. Right, you have quite a lot of choice there, which is good. Communication, do we need anything there? No, I'm not going to bother with any of those. Editors, I'll pick Genie. That'll do us for that. File managers, wow, you really do get to choose the whole lot. Let's see if we've got PC Man FM there. Yep, I'm going to choose that. Multimedia. Well, let's stick VLC in there. Anything else that I'm going to need there? I don't think so for this initial go. What I am quite impressed at actually is the sheer volume of different packages that you can choose from here, which is all good. Office, yeah, why not choose LibreOffice Fresh and the locale files for it. Utilities, do I want anything there? I'm just scrolling through these to see what's what. You've got a lot of choice, you really have. I'm going to choose LX Appearance as well, just in case. I want to see what it what it installs out of the box. And it may not install very much, to be honest. But wow, we've got quite a lot here. You've got more than quite a lot. You've got a massive selection. Applications. Let's have a look. Is there anything in particular I think I need? Well, let's go for awesome terminal fonts, Deja Vu, Roboto, the Ubuntu font family. Let's just make sure we've got something there. Bitstream Vera, Terminus font. That should probably do us to start off with. That seems to be repeating itself now. TTF Deja Vu. But okay, fine. And let's just move on. Linux LTS headers, yeah, why not? Theming. I quite like the Arc icon theme, so let's go for that. I have no idea what we're going to end up with here. In terms of graphics, I would normally install GIMP, but actually I'm not that bothered, and I'm not that bothered about any games. Let's just move to next. Where am I? It's already picked London. Okay, great. That's a next. UK English keyboard. Okay, that's default. What do I want to do? I just want to erase the disk, and I don't need to create a swap partition. So it's just going to, interestingly, create a Btrfs partition by default. I would probably normally go for ext4 just out of personal preference, but you know what? I'm just going to go with whatever it suggests. And let's just put my standard username and password in. Use the same password for the admin account. Yeah, that'll suit me. Good to go. Looks like it to me. And off we go. Look, we'll come back once it's done. Right, well, I rebooted, and quite rightly on the grub menu, Linux LTS was selected as the default. And despite trying various things, it failed to boot. So I went into the advanced settings, and luckily the standard Linux kernel was there. And as soon as I selected the standard Linux kernel, it did boot. So it's got to lose some marks for the fact that it didn't boot with my preferred configuration. But what you see now is clearly, or what I think is probably light DM, which has come down, I'm pretty sure, with Mate, because I installed the Mate desktop. And I can see that Mate up here is actually selected by default, but we do have Xmonad, Awesome, and Herbsluft WM. So I don't really know what to expect, if I'm honest. So let's kind of tread carefully. Let's go with Mate to start off with. So let's just log in and see what we get. And it looks to me like we have just a plain vanilla Mate desktop, which I'm not necessarily unhappy about. I would pretty much have expected that. I'm just opening up now to see if there's any backgrounds that are specific, and I can't actually see anything there. They seem to just be standard backgrounds, so nothing special. The Arc and Arc Dark themes are already installed. Okay, let's shut that. What about applications? Right, we seem to have quite a lot here already. We do have nitrogen, which is useful. If I browse nitrogen, aha. So it looks to me there like we do have some specific wallpapers that are presumably DarkOs orientated. I'm not going to select any of them now. We'll wait until we get into the window manager. But okay, it makes sense. We do at least have nitrogen installed. We have PyCom installed. Anything else? LibreOffice Math. the standard GIMP. You've got Flame Shot automatically. We've got Firefox, and I see it's already installed BitTorrent and LFTP. LibreOffice, which I asked for it to install. GM Run, a run prompt is already there. Genie and various bits and pieces. And Simple Screen Recorder. Well, I didn't ask for that to be installed, so it's obviously done that just by default. Okay, I'm just going to bring up the Mate system monitor here. What's it using? 677 megs. We're in a virtual machine, so that's not dreadful. What I am interested, though, in seeing is whether or not we've already got the configuration files here for the window managers. So let's just go to View and Show Hidden Files. And I can see we've got a .xmonad directory. And there's our xmonad.hs. Let's open this up. And, okay, so it's not blank. We have actually got something there. In fact, there's quite a lot of configuration steps in here by the look of it. Tree Select is already configured. It looks like it may possibly have been borrowing some of DT's configurations here, but it's a fairly long configuration file. So I'm not necessarily expecting to see an absolute vanilla Xmonad here. I would perhaps like to see something that has some light customization. Now, I think Light DM was probably installed due to me installing Mate, but I can see there's xinitrc file. Let's just see what that's got in it. And it has a default entry there, exec xmonad. So if you install this and you just got to your normal TTY after booting, you would be able to log in, you'd be able to type start X, and it would start Xmonad and give you something to work with. We've got a face file with a little pussycat there. Okay, fine. What about Bash RC? Are there any particular customizations? Always worth looking at. Yeah, there's a few bits and pieces here. Any particular aliases? Yeah, there's a few aliases there, including aliases to Yay, Pac-Man. Okay, so it gives you a start. It's worth looking at. What about if we go into our config directory? We have our awesome config, rc.lua. What do I want to open that with? Let's open it with a text editor. I don't use Awesome personally, so I don't know if this is default or not. We'll find out when we launch it, but at least it does have a configuration file there. And we've also got a configuration file for Herbsluft WM. And I see here it's also got one for JG menu, so that's presumably installed somewhere. And Polybar is already installed along with Xmobar. We have the potential there for 2 instances of Xmobar. Let's just have a quick look at that to see if it's configured in any way. And yes, it does seem to have a basic configuration there. So yeah, I'm not necessarily expecting to see something that's completely vanilla, but at the same time, possibly not something that is highly configured. So Mate is pretty much what I expected. It's vanilla, essentially. What I want to do now is have a quick look at the window managers, starting with Xmonad. So we're back now at our Light DM screen. So let's log into Xmonad and see where we get to. That's not good. Error detected while loading Xmonad configuration file. Okay. Can I even open a terminal from here? Can I do anything? I'm doing Super Shift Q. No, I seem to be locked. So I'm going to have to come out of here and we'll try again. Right, well, I didn't even attempt to go through the errors that Xmonad was throwing up, because as far as I'm concerned, if it's claiming to have Xmonad installed from the get-go, it should just work. So let's try another window manager. Let's try Awesome this time and see where we get to with that. Okay, so Awesome has actually launched without a problem. And I see that we have a bar that's configured there. Do we have a menu? Is this our JG menu? I'm clicking on it, but nothing's happening. Is that to open a file? Or are these just different workspaces? They may just be different workspaces, I don't know. There's obviously a couple of places. In fact, I think that's probably what it is. We're just talking about different workspaces. So, right-clicking does give us a little menu as such. So, something has been done on this. I'm just going to open a terminal here. Once again, I'm seeing these. I don't like this. This doesn't suit me. But it looks like that stuff that DT has on his terminal. The terminal's looking pretty small. I wonder if I can make that bigger. No, that doesn't do it. Okay, what about that? No, that doesn't do it. Okay. Let me go into full screen again, guys. I'm going to see if I can recompile Xmonad, because it might just be that it needs recompiling. No, unfortunately not. Error detected while loading Xmonad configuration file. Couldn't load module, blah, 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 blah. Okay, I would need to troubleshoot that. I'm not going to do it now. At the end of the day, I don't think that should actually be there. So, okay, I'm going to click that. Normally with Awesome, there is a way to actually bring up the hotkeys. And there you go. We've got our hotkeys. So how do we actually close an item here? Okay, I've just found it. It's Super Shift C to close applications. Okay, so I do quite like this, by the way, this particular menu screen. So if I do Super Shift C, yeah, that shuts. So I can open a terminal, presumably here, and then Super Shift C. Okay, so that closes, all good. So you have a... I'm not that familiar with Awesome, but certainly if you want to give it a try, this gives you a starting point and some sort of configuration. It's not to my tastes, if I'm honest, and I think I would prefer to start from scratch. But nevertheless, if you'd like to make a start on a configuration file, it does give you something to start you off with. I think it's pretty bad, though, that we haven't got the fonts installed. They're going to show up all the icons in the taskbar. Okay, well, let's go and look at Herbsluftwm WM just to finish this off. So we're back at Light DM now. Let's just pick Herbsluftwm WM and see where we get to from there. And again, I can see that we've got a bar here. I'm not sure if that's polybar. I suspect it is, given that we've got a polybar directory in our config folder. And you can see that you've got some little modules here. It actually looks a lot neater, this, than anything else that I've seen on this. So we've obviously got some disk space there. I presume that's CPU. Actually, that might be memory, 414 megs. Yeah, and 22.58 free disk space. We have volume. Oh no, yeah, muted or unmuted. And we have network manager there. Okay, that's fine. I seem to be on the first workspace, so if I just do super and enter, great, it opens up a terminal for me. I'm wondering if it's the same shortcut. Super Shift C shuts it. If I want to move to the second workspace, yeah, it's just Super 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, wherever you want to go. So I can keep opening workspaces like this and then shut them down. Oops, there we go. Like that. Okay, well, you know, configuring window managers is a very personal thing. I'm not going to play around with the configuration of these window managers, and I certainly can't do Xmonad. But ultimately, you know, if you want to have a play and want to start with something that has got some work done to it, it might be an option for you. Ultimately, though, I think we need to have a chat about this distro. Right, DarkOs. Let's be fair. Okay, let's be completely fair with this. If this has been created by one person just for themselves and they've decided to share it on Distro Watch because it's obviously been submitted, well, fair enough. But for me, I'm struggling to see the point. Let's just put the errors to one side to start off with. If you're creating your own distro and you're creating, well, you're configuring your own window managers, your Xmonad, your Awesome, your Herbsluftwm WM, and you want to share the configurations, absolutely great. Just share them on GitHub or GitLab, and people can add them themselves as they want to. I don't know why you need to add a distro just to showcase your configuration files, because I can't really see what the point of it is other than that, to showcase your particular configuration files. Maybe that's just me, and that's a little bit unfair because there's a lot of work involved in producing a distro, so I don't want to completely rubbish this, but yeah, I've come away less than impressed. No documentation, not even an install guide on SourceForge, so I think that's pretty poor to start off with. Secondly, when you get to installing it, I thought the installer screen, it was fine as far as it went, but it looked pretty amateurish to me, very kind of early 90s, but that's a look, that's a thing, you know, so I'm not going to criticize it for style. And I did like the Calamaris installer because it gave you so many options. What I found a little bit confusing, though, was the fact that Awesome, Herbsluftwm WM, and Xmonad still had options for me to click to install them. If they were already installed by default, and I presume they were, why would they be offered as additional options? And did I cause any problems by selecting them again? I don't know, I may have done. I'm also aware that I'm doing this within VirtualBox, so what you see on hardware may not be the experience you're going to get on, on VirtualBox may not be the experience you're going to get on hardware. That's always going to be the case. Nevertheless, you know, there are some things it's not going to make any difference with. And what you didn't see as it was installing, it took a while because it's doing an online install. There was a slideshow, and the slideshow kept saying, you know, that DarkOs was developed in 2013, but basically it was closed down, it was abandoned. And then there was a slide that says DarkOs uses Plasma as its base. And I was thinking, hold on, I thought this was a window manager only distro. So it was quite confused, but it worked and it installed. We then had the problem, of course, with trying to boot the LTS kernel. It just wouldn't do it. It just fell back to a root shell. Luckily, though, it had installed the standard Linux kernel and it booted fine from there. So, okay, these things happen. That could be a VirtualBox issue. I don't know. But not that impressed from the get-go. Mate, well, it's installed the vanilla Mate desktop. That's fine. I didn't see an issue with that. The package selection, okay. There's more packages installed than I expected. That's obviously the personal preference from the developer. Again, no issue with that. What I wasn't happy with really was Xmonad. Now, I know the Xmonad configuration file can be a real pain, and sometimes when there's updates, it screws up your configuration and you have to make changes. But to my knowledge, there hasn't been anything drastic happen for a while. I haven't had to update my Xmonad config for quite a long time, and this distro was only produced in April, and everything was fine then. So I feel that needs to have been checked, and I can't see that VirtualBox would have had any impact on Xmonad not working. So that was a bit of a down point. Awesome and Herbsluft WM did work fine. I can't say that the customizations were to my liking, but at the end of the day, it's better to start off with somebody else's template and then customize it to how you like it than it is starting from a blank slate. I could have played with it more, but to be honest, I ran out of patience. I couldn't see the point. I come back to the fact that if you want an easy install Arch distro, there are lots out there. Endeavour, Manjaro, Easy Arch by Esnix, to name but 3 of them. All of which you could have installed, and you could have pulled down the config files from this developer or another developer, even me. I've got some config files up on GitLab, and you could have tested out their configurations and played with them until you got them looking like you wanted. So I suppose I have to say at the end of this, yes, there were errors. It looks like a work in progress. I don't want to overly criticise it because there's a lot of work put into these things, but my view is it's clearly not ready for prime time yet. I'd encourage the developer to carry on doing what he's doing, but he needs some documentation. He needs an installation guide, and he needs to make sure that those configurations for his window managers actually work. So I said this could be positive or negative, and it's come out largely negative, and that wasn't my intention from the start. But I'm afraid, guys, I say what I see, and this isn't ready. It'd be interesting to see if it actually gets onto Distro Watch, because it's not been evaluated as yet. So that's it for this week. I'll see you maybe see you next Saturday, actually. We're potentially getting our lockdown restrictions quite significantly lifted on Monday. If that happens, I may take next Saturday out to go and visit relatives that I haven't seen for the best part of a year. But the Indian variant of this thing seems to be spiking in the northwest of England at the moment, so anything could still change. So it's a bit of a moving target. So I may see you, I may not see you. Other than that, I hope you enjoyed the video. Come and join me on the Facebook page. Try Library by all means. We still don't know really what's happening there. And I would like to, of course, thank my Patreons. Thanks so much for your help, guys. I'm talking about Robert, Gary, Aristotelis, Stormpix, Stephen, Mike, David, Richard, Ty, Forrest, Patrick, Glenn, Magnus, Skipper, John M. and David. Appreciate all your help, guys. That's it until next week, or potentially the week after. Cheers.